Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a bit of a shortcut, really, to getting well informed on a topic that's, well, pretty crucial for any B2B executive trying to navigate today's business world. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack some insights from Arkaro, specifically their analysis on 10 signs your organization needs VUCA adaptation, adapting to that volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment.
Precisely. And, the business world, it's fundamentally changed. Many leaders are feeling this kind of disruption almost for the first time. They're realizing that the traditional approaches, the ones that relied on predictability, control, they just don't cut it anymore. We really are in a VUCA era.
Right. So what does this actually mean for you listening? If your organization is maybe struggling with challenges that just keep coming back, it doesn't mean you're failing. It's more likely you're just hitting the reality that today's problems need a completely different kind of approach. Let's dive into some of those key signs Arkaro identified. That first sign, your teams wait for answers instead of creating them. That feels so prevalent, doesn't it? It's really frustrating when you see the potential there, but people just seem to default to waiting for instructions. What's really going on under the surface there?
Yeah, what's often happening is that the organization maybe inadvertently has sort of trained people to be order takers, not really problem solvers.
Yeah.
In these VUCA environments, the people closest to the actual problem, they usually have the best, most timely insights. And organizations that can't, empower that distributed intelligence, they're always going to be too slow to respond effectively to what's actually happening right in front of them.
And this next point, I have to say, really resonates with me because I've seen it play out quite often. The same problems keep coming back. You solve what feels like a major issue, maybe you didn't celebrate, and then bang, 6 months later, a similar problem pops up, maybe somewhere else in the business. It's tempting to just blame bad luck, isn't it? But Arkaro suggests it's something, well, much more fundamental.
Right. When problems keep recurring, even though you thought you had effective solutions, that's a classic sign. You've probably applied a technical fix to what's actually an adaptive challenge. The real root causes lie deeper maybe in behaviors, systems, or even the culture itself, things that haven't really fundamentally changed. In today's kind of interconnected world, most of these persistent challenges, they aren't just technical problems, they're adaptive. They need new ways of thinking, new ways of working, really across the whole organization.
Okay, so it really demands looking much deeper than just the surface fix. Another big one we often see is when change initiatives feel like pulling teeth. Every significant change just meets huge resistance. It takes way longer than planned, needs constant management focus. It does make you wonder, are people just, inherently resistant to change?
Yeah, that's a really common misconception. People aren't typically resisting the change itself. Not really. They're usually protecting themselves from the very real feeling of loss and uncertainty that comes with leaving behind familiar, comfortable ways of working. And that's just a natural human response to disruption, really. So if your organization struggles with change today, just imagine how it's going to cope when the pace of necessary change speeds up even more. Building real change capability isn't optional anymore. It's absolutely vital for survival.
That really reframes it. It's less about fighting resistance and more about helping people navigate that uncertainty.
Okay. And finally, let's touch on those unspoken problems. Important issues get swept under the carpet. Everybody kind of knows about certain problems or maybe tensions, but they rarely, if ever, get discussed openly in meetings. That feels like a ticking time bomb, doesn't it?
Oh, it absolutely can be. Yeah. This usually indicates your organization lacks the psychological safety needed for people to feel okay surfacing difficult truths without fear of, negative consequences. When important issues get forced underground, they tend to fester rather than get resolved. And in these complex, fast-moving environments, spotting problems early is just crucial. So organizations that can't discuss the tough stuff openly, they'll always be blindsided by crises that were probably predictable. Okay, so pulling this together then, if these signs are, hitting home for people listening, what's the fundamental shift in perspective leaders really need to adopt? What's the bigger picture here?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really means moving away from seeing your organization as just a machine where you meticulously plan and control every single output. It's about shifting to understanding it more as a living system. And that means things like creating vision, defining the mission, building capacity, fostering continuous learning, critically by empowering the people who are closest to the problems to actually develop the solutions. It's not about throwing out everything that worked before, but consciously evolving your approach.
This brings up a really important question for you, the listener. The source material puts it quite provocatively. The question isn't whether your industry will become more volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's whether your organization will be ready when it does. That really puts the focus squarely on preparedness, doesn't it?
It does. Recognizing these signs we've talked about is absolutely the first crucial step. And the good news is that organizations can learn to thrive in these VUCA environments. But it definitely requires fundamentally different leadership approaches and a real willingness to adapt, at every level.
So if these signs do feel familiar and maybe you're ready to start transforming these challenges into, well, competitive advantages for your organization, you can learn more about Arkaro services over on arkaro.com and also check out their LinkedIn page. And for a free, completely confidential 30-minute diagnostic consultation, you can email Mark Blackwell directly. His email is mark@arkaro.com. Thank you for listening to this deep dive from Arkaro Insights. If you found it helpful, please do share it with colleagues who might also benefit.